So, hello and welcome again to another conversation. And today we will be talking about mysterious science or conscious. You'll have to help me, Nisha, with the language. Conscious creation.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be talking about how to combine and bridge and the interaction between science and spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
and how science, the cutting edge science that our trailblazing doctor here today will tell us more about. So we have Dr. Nisha Manek here with us.
Mm-hmm.
And Nisha, tell us, how did you end up here? How did you end up talking about this subject today, being an expert
Mm-hmm.
in this subject?
Joanna, it's such a delight to be with you. I just want to say thank you. Um, and greetings to you from a bright and sunny California. It's very cold here, unseasonably so, but today the sun is shining and I'm just delighted to be with you. This is my favorite subject, mysterious, right? What is consciousness? And what on earth does it have to do with health? So I'm a medical doctor and I'm a rheumatologist, so I take care of people with rheumatic diseases. These are people with chronic illnesses, arthritis, lupus, okay, fibromyalgia, chronic pain. So here I was, very conventional medical scientist, and I was doing all of these wonderful things, teaching, research, clinical care. But you know, Joanne, there's something missing in medicine, and that is there is much, much more than what we just look at in medicine, which is chemistry, and we use drugs all the time. So there was in my consciousness, if I can use that word, pun is intended, there has to be more to human beings and human well-being and human wellness. So I started looking into this question a little bit. Okay. And the first foray into this question was, what are these energy systems of the body? What is the human biofield? Because once you get there, that's your link to consciousness. So just think about Nisha Manek, and I'm at the dissection table in my medical school because that's what medical education is. We look at the human body in great detail. We measure, we weigh, we color, we categorize, we cut it into parts. And I say, my part is this part, your part is that part. And I'm afraid that isn't serving us very well. So my first thing was, then let's go beyond just the physical human body and look at the energy systems. And then I bumped into this wonderful, mysterious question about consciousness. All right. So I actually left a very, very high level of career in a major system and walked away because I felt it was so important for me and to serve my patients to look in the human biofield area. And then I really literally walked into this consciousness area and intention. Okay, so we are all tying major concepts here. So I'm going to stop and pull back because I could just keep and keep and keep talking.
So, um, what is unique about what you do? Because I said you were trailblazing, and you are, because you are a doctor,
Mhm,
and doctors are limited
mhm,
to what you said, cutting and dissecting and pulling apart. Um, and they are not supposed to do mysterious and spiritual things, and yet
mhm,
here you are. So
mhm.
what have you discovered?
So, this is such a good point because we think that the science of subtle energies, the acupuncture system, is not known. It's not known because it's not published in the main medical journals. Just think about it. How do doctors get education? And we keep up with developments. Okay, that's our task. We are lifelong learners. And so when I was in this big academic center and I started to look at this question of subtle energies, and I'll tell you this, Joanna, it wasn't just a blind foray into, oh, let me look at the subtle energies. It was what my patients were telling me. Sometimes there was such a mismatch of what I was seeing on blood tests and x-rays, and I expected a very sick patient in front of me, and yet they were thriving. And so I asked them, what is your secret? How come you look so good? And one of my patients, I'll never forget this young woman, and she said to me, Dr. Manek, if I tell you, I think you're going to laugh at me. And I said, why would I do that? Tell me, what is it that you do every day? Because I'm not going to give you steroids. I'm not going to change your medicines. You are doing something quite unique. And she turned to her handbag and pulled out this meditation CD and yoga. And that was my first sort of inkling that, I didn't prescribe that for her. She discovered it on her own. And it was my responsibility now and saying, oh, let me look at this. And that's, you're now moving into yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and they pump and fortify the energy systems. Now, here's the problem in medicine. As you just said, we think cutting edge, but we're cutting edge in looking at the body systems, the things that we can measure and look at and see with our eyes and microscopes. That's the problem. Subtle energies are so real, but we can't get our hands around it because they're invisible. But they're very real. If you do Tai Chi and you play with energy, and you can, then suddenly a whole new world opens up. And that's what I did. I go to Minneapolis, St. Paul. I was in Minnesota. And I would go to this Qigong master and take workshops. Level 1, level 2, there's various levels of becoming a master of subtle energy healing. And I remember the first day, oh my goodness. And what comes up for you is not only that you can feel these energies, you can move them and you can direct them and heal yourself. Wow. Wow. If you can heal your joint and immune system without a prescription, then remember, this is free. Nature has already installed in you energetic systems. You just didn't know about them, right? And as a medical doctor, I had to learn about it. And my patient, I thank her every day. Honestly, when I think about it, she opened my perspective to something quite profound. Now, in a sense, I already knew about it, but it was tucked away somewhere there because in medical school, I thought my certificates, fellow of the American College of Physiology, physicians, and all this Royal College of Physicians. Oh my goodness, that's authority. But it isn't the only way to the truth. And the truth that this patient very innocently told me about in that visit, I can still picture her on that, exam table. And I said, Tracy, you don't need all of these things. What's going on? I was actually quite worried before she stepped into my office when I looked at her lab work. And I realized, wow, I need to do something about my own shortcomings in my own education, that these things are just as real. And this is the gift. Physics comes closer to the truth as a natural science than biology. I'm going to repeat that again. Physics is closer to understanding nature than biology and medical sciences. Because in medical science, I told you, we compartmentalize and take all of this apart and we can't put it together again. And then we hope somebody else will do the other parts. If somebody says, Dr. Manek, I have chest pain, I say, go to the cardiologist, you go over here, and hope that they'll sort it out. But physics, and the physics I'm referring to, is a physics of consciousness, and consciousness tool is intention. And the physicist I'm referring to is William Tiller, and he used to be at Stanford University. And I ran into his work called What Are Subtle Energies? What are subtle energies? And in my opinion, Joanne, this one paper should be part of a medical curriculum. Medical students should read this. What are subtle energies? Because they're very real. You can feel them, and now you can quantify them. But only physics gets there because medicine doesn't talk about energy. It doesn't talk about subtle energies, but physics does. And so I reached out and really linked, you might say bridged, to this physicist, William Tiller. And he, first of all, he said, no, I don't think so. I think you belong in medicine. You don't have any education, pedagogy in physics. And he was right. I had no idea. I don't know equations. I can do A plus B equals AB. That's about it. Okay, no, I was a little, you might say naive and brave, but I was very persistent. I knew we need to open up our toolbox because medicine has been in a blind alley for a long time. We think more chemicals, more chemicals, more chemicals. More pills isn't serving us well. It isn't covering up our ignorance about energies and about informational systems in the human person. Joanne, we're multidimensional beings. This physical thing that you address as Nisha or Dr. Manek isn't the whole thing. I know that. So, what is really essential here? What is essential about Homo sapiens? If I give terminology to this thing, this Homo sapiens, which is a thinking, the big brain, right? We think, oh, Homo sapiens, the man who constructs and thinks and analyzes. We have begun to worship that. But I'm going to say that is misplaced. We're putting too much emphasis on the human construct. And we have to look at the multidimensional thing, which is energetic and informational. And that brings us back to this question of consciousness.
So how would we actually do this? How do we intend, and
Yes.
how much can we intend, and how much can we create? The title of our talk. How much
Mhm.
of this can we achieve? Because it sounds a bit.
So, can Homo say that's a perfect Homo sapiens question? How do we do it? What are the limits? And I'm going to tell you, Joanne, you are infinite. You're an infinite being who's having a physical existence in this body. And the body is our instrument to explore this wonderful earth. It's like having if I go down into the deep sea, I need a diving bell and I can explore everything. I have my oxygen, I have my diving bell suit like that. Your body is your bio body suit to explore nature, but ultimately you are infinite. You're not just Homo sapiens, you're Homo spiritus. You're a spiritual being. And once you begin to understand that, then you're in the image of God. And that's what was so startling to me, that physics brought me all the way at the doorstep of the realization they were ultimately evolving into higher and higher creation. And by our tool of intention, the more we create, the more we achieve, then your questions will change. You create higher and higher. Then, Joanna, you're an avatar. You're creating into Christ consciousness. But let's bring us back to more practical things, right? Because when I started my question of what can I intend, the first thing that comes to mind is, ooh, I want more money. I wrote it down. I actually wrote, I want more money. So the first thing I would tell your listeners and those people who are on this call, take a notebook. I have several notebooks of intention. Okay, I have my notebook, and today's call was actually speak the truth. That's the intention. All right, speak your truth. So when I first started this whole exploration in my own life, it was always material things. I want more dollars. I want a red sports car. I want this. I want that, and that's okay. You want to start. The thing to your audience is get a book, get a writing instrument, and write it out. And don't judge. Don't judge yourself, okay? Because I've had people go, Dr. Manek, am I intending too much? Am I being selfish? Can I have all this list of things? I say, you're intending too little. You're intending
Mm.
too little. Because I'll
Ooh.
tell you, when William Tiller was testing his own intention under laboratory conditions, he called it the target experiments. He changed the pH of water. It was a target, okay? You put a target in front of you and you say, can my thoughts, my conscious intention change the material properties of this water in a measurable way? And I'm not talking little itsy bitsy random noise. I'm talking a huge signal. And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. But here's the problem: we are asleep. We don't believe it. We have doubt. We shift too much. I want a red sports car. Oh, no, no, no. I think I'm not sure now, right? So we have the doubts. Make up your mind. How do you make up your mind? And there's an easy answer to that. Go into your heart. Your heart will never lie to you. Your brain will give all kinds of excuses, Homo sapiens rationalizations. The moment you drop into your heart and you dwell there, you rest there, that's meditation. You get clearer and clearer. And here's another thing, and I just finished my first course, Rheumatoid Relief, to help people with inflammation. And one of the things we, cover in the course is how do we go into the heart? So you want to take your left brain and you literally say, I connect my left brain with my right brain and connect with my heart. And then you go into silence and go for 30 seconds, a minute. And it's so pleasant that really you can go there and dwell there for several minutes. Your heart has the answers, my friend. Your right brain has the answers, which will take you to the things that really move you towards life. And what is life? Life is God's will. Life is God. Life is consciousness. And you are consciousness of God that is operating within you. So I hope that sort of gets you somewhere along to that, go into your heart.
Is I'm sorry, is that what spirituality is? God's will?
God's will. Thy will
So
be done.
so
Mhm.
when you allow yourself to listen to
Mhm.
God's will, or I guess if you don't believe in God, maybe you believe in a higher spirit or a higher power, or um, I mean, in my mind, there's only one creator or
Mhm.
essence of creation. So of course, these religious fights and all of that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are, which house or place of worship you go to. But how do you connect to this spirituality? How do you use it? How do you
Yes.
make your creation stronger and more powerful?
That is an excellent question. So we have, it's a human psychology. We really like to compartmentalize. Mine is better than yours, and all of this sort of thing. And there is a formless quality to God. So we have out of the unmanifest comes the manifest. Okay? So the consciousness is a field. It's an absolutely magnificent, infinite field of love. All right? And people often say, well, then, if love is the answer, how can I get more love in my life? And I have a teacher who said, you can't get more love. Somebody can't run off with love. You can't take love from here to there. Love is that which you are. So you have to release the obstacles to love. You release the obstacles, and then just like the cloud cover over the sun is shining. Once the cloud cover goes, the sun is always shining. It's shining its radiance and life giving power to all of Earth. So, first of all, it's an impersonal field. The word impersonal is very key here. It doesn't belong to Joanne. It doesn't belong to Nisha. It's impersonal. So, truth is impersonal. And once you look at all of the great traditions, Buddhist, Christianity, Hinduism, all right, it's impersonal. There is a unification that love is the singular quality. How much you have of that love? Do you have like a light? You can turn it up bright, 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 or you have the absence of love, dark, 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 and you have these opposites. It's a perceptual thing, yet there's no opposites to love. It's just the gradation of how much is present. And I just want to say something about this. The conditions for love exist no matter what. No matter what. You can think of the worst situations anywhere in the world. We want peace protests, we want to heal the world, we want to do everything. But I'll tell you, stay out of peace protests, be home and pray. Because we are all connected by the field of consciousness, the field that is love. It connects us all, and it's impersonal. The moment you say, I want to heal my heart, then you're already uplifting that field. And like all the corks in a sea, when you lift the sea, all the corks float higher. That's all you need to do, is to love yourself. You are the one that you're looking for. You are it. You are where all of this creation flows out and comes back in. Breathe in and breathe out. I'm saying such profound things. It takes many, many, months, years of contemplative practice to really understand. But I want to put those things right front and center. Consciousness is a field, infinite, impersonal, doesn't belong to anyone. Okay? And the truth is free. You don't need a workshop and pay $5,000 to get some secret whispered in your ear. I've been through those workshops. I know. That's why okay. I've been through this. So when you first start exploring, you get into crystals and tarots and all this new age circus. Truth is impersonal. Just know, go to your heart. Yeah.
I'd like to share a little story, and I guess the reason why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And because I use EFT tapping,
Mm-hmm.
you tap on acupuncture points to release,
Yes.
release and free yourself up. And I was exchanging some sessions with another colleague, and I ended up in a place of God's love, or the higher power love. Or so when you're talking about this love being very important, I had a blissful but strong experience of this power. And it was so strong and so powerful. I didn't disappear into some sort of other world, or I didn't fall asleep. It wasn't under any sort of medication or
Mhm.
essences, or I connected with love, pure love, that was so strong, and it started filling me up to a point of almost overpowering strength and
Mhm.
potential. So I definitely got a sense of the strength and the power and the might that this little feeling of love has. So please tell us about what it is that you, how's this measured? This little cute feeling that people kind of frown upon, or oh, that's not a serious thing to be,
Yeah,
taking your time delving into.
yeah, yeah.
What is this thing, feeling?
Yeah, so emotional freedom technique, that's what you were doing. And really, the body has polarities. It does have points where you can, the body is always sensing, it's always sensing many millions of variables. The chair I'm sitting on, Joanne sitting there nodding her, I'm taking in countless input. Most of it is dumped, some of it is stored, and some of it, even negative things, they're always there waiting to be resolved. And once you have the willingness, you showed willingness with your friend to say, let's go over here and use this wonderful skill, emotional freedom technique, and tap it away. Because our face has so many acupressure points, the ears, the hands, the feet, okay, they all do. And once you do that and have affirmations, it can really have great release aspect. So you've released the obstacles to love. That's it. Because, like the clouds that cover up the sun, all of those lessons are waiting for you to be resolved. And you can do many things. EFT is one. You can have Reiki. You can have therapeutic touch. You can have massage, chiropractic care. But don't use chemicals. You do not use chemicals. This is very, very fundamental. What you did was just immense. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then you asked about this little love. It's not little. This love is so exquisite, rock like, immense, strong, powerful. We're using words to just give an inclination. What did you feel? And it is such a gift. Once you have that, that's Shangri La. You want to go
Mm,
there. That
yes,
was home. That's
yes.
me. That's
Heaven on
Joanna.
earth, yes.
Joanna God.
Well, it felt very, it felt like it wasn't me, it was us, it was we, it was everything. It was just this beautiful, blissful place to live out of, live from, act out of, heaven on earth. I don't know
Heaven
how
on
else
earth.
to
Heaven
explain
on
it.
earth. Yes.
Yes.
So we can create those conditions all the time, not special times, all of the times. Okay. That's our birthright. That's freedom. That's inner freedom.
Yes.
Now you can heal.
Exactly.
Now, even the body becomes irrelevant. I'll tell you, I've met masters where they're youthful, they're vibrant, and they're glowing, and it doesn't matter. What they're there is in this incredible bliss joy. So, how do you measure that? Well, Tiller has done that in his lab. Because once you intend and you're saying, God, show me the truth in my intention, God will answer you. And it did in his lab. The science laboratory is God's playground. Why do you say it only is a cathedral? Why do you
Mm.
have to squeeze God into church and a temple?
Cues. Yes.
So in Tiller's lab, and when I went to his labs, I'll tell you, in Arizona, when he had left Stanford, he retired in Arizona. And Joanne, when I went to his labs, in Payson, Arizona. It was the feeling you describe,
Mm.
a feeling of silence.
Mm.
There's nothing to be said. What
Mm.
can you say? And I sat in his labs quietly, absorbing that wonderful feeling of love. And there were computers and ticker tapes and graphs. It was irrelevant for that time. And you know what? I came away from that lab refreshed,
Mm.
rejuvenated. And normally, when I'm reading medical textbooks, I need coffee.
Yes.
I feel deeply no,
Stimulant. Yes.
let's just talk about this because
Yes.
I'll tell you that limited knowledge, compartmentalized, is depleting my life
Mm.
force.
Yes.
I want my cell energies to be pumped up, engaged, the brain is there, and I'm fully happy. And I'll tell you, Tiller's physics made me do that. And that was so amazing. I even told him about it. I said, what is it you do in your labs? Because when I come away from our meetings in the Payson labs, I feel different. I feel the body is alive. I feel even the word happy comes to mind. But again, we're really struggling with language because the language of God ultimately is silence. The language of God is you just are. Truth is impersonal, it doesn't need anything. You just are. It
And
is.
there, yes. And there we are again. That littleness that we humans uh, consider nothing or
Mhm.
invisible, you mentioned it earlier. What is it that Tiller discovered? What is it that is this creation energy?
Yeah, yeah. It's
How
a
do
really
you,
good
what did he
question.
discover?
So Tiller said, okay, I want to test my intention, whether it can change something out there, physically separated. Okay, so um, we assume in science that Nisha, doctor, is sitting here and patient is over there, and that there's no connection, and I have to write a script, and that my chemical will do something, and that that's it, there's no connection. And so Tiller is saying, okay, we have these assumptions in science that consciousness and intention does not have measurable effects on a target or a material thing out there. So he says, is that really true? That was his first question, because it's an assumption that we hold in science all the time, okay? That Nisha Manek, doesn't really have a measurable effect on something out there. So that was his first question. And that's a very courageous question, actually, Joanna. And then he said, okay, let me write an intention. Can my intention, and he was a material scientist, so he knew about the atoms and molecules that make up water, for example. We look at a glass of water, all of these molecules jumbled in, liquid water is magic. Water is not as simple as we think. Water is extremely complicated when we really look into the hydrogen bonds, H2O, all of those things, how it freezes and crystallizes and all of that. But anyway, so he said, let me write an intention to change the hydrogen ion of that water with nothing else but with this written intention. I'm not going to add chemicals. I'm not going to add acid. I'm not going to add anything alkaline. And I'm going to check with a pH meter what happens if I intend that this water's pH will change. Now, water is so essential to life. You and I can agree. Okay. And the pH of water in the human body is extremely consistent, 7.4. It never varies. I mean, boom. If you're really sick, that's it. We measure pH and we know as doctors, we're in trouble. So Tiller did something very interesting. He said, okay, let's take a pure water, pH of 7.0, take a pH meter, and I have an intention, and let's see if this really works. He wrote an intention, then he held it in meditation. Tiller was different in this way. He's not an ordinary scientist. By the time he was doing these experiments in the 1990s, he had been in meditate, or he had done daily meditation for 30 plus years. He was like a yogi or a adept in a physics lab. He just happened to know mathematics and equations, but he was really a yogi. He was like that, immense in his internal discipline, you might say. So when he wrote an intention to change pH of water, guess what happens? He imprints a device, and that is now broadcasting the intention 24/7. And guess what happens to the pH of water? Every single time. It would go up 1 unit or go down 1 unit based on the intention. And the lab that was actually conducting these experiments was based in Minnesota. It wasn't in California. So they were blinded to the intention. Was it up or was it down? In Minnesota, they just take the device and put it next to the pH meter and start to watch. And they were gathering data. And then it became faster and faster. I mean, his intention would just boom. And here's the other thing. So it was always going in line with his intention. When he wrote his intention, Tiller did one thing very interesting. He wrote, "Thy will be done." Oh God, show me the truth of my intention. Show me the truth of the statement on this piece of paper. He wasn't saying, show me the truth of the journal editor. He wasn't saying, show me the truth of Stanford University and their demands. He just said, thy will be done. Oh God, show me the truth in what I have written. Show me that this is possible. And it is possible, Joanne. Once we are very chiseled and we leave our doubts behind, that brings us meditation again. We become familiar with our own mind, with our own inner capacities. And Tiller was an incredible giant that way. When I was around him, it was a feeling of great expansiveness and silence. So he writes this intention, imprints it. The device does exactly what his intention is showing. And then he measured it. And this is the key thing. Intention is a source of great deal of energy. What does energy do? It moves nature in a certain direction. You know how people say everything is energy, everything is energy. Well, it is. Well, where's the energy source? We think it's the sun, which it is. But you are the sun. Inside of you is a really big source of energy that can do work.
Well, that brings us to this affecting of water, which is so important for our health, as you mentioned, and as everyone knows. And unfortunately, I don't think people know how important water is to our health, because we should really drink much more than most of us do. But it brings us to the point that we promised to talk about, which is applying mind over disease. So Tiller applied mind over water. So how do we apply mind over disease? And how much can we accomplish?
And, the study of consciousness and intention changed me as a doctor. I shifted, right? Because now I'm a conventionally trained physician, Glasgow University, Scotland, Royal College of Physicians member, all of these kinds of things. And I haven't left it, but I have built on it. I have understood that when you give a chemical, I teach my patients how to hold it in intention. So for example, suppose you're taking your vitamin. I took my vitamin D and my vitamin C. I have a little cold, so I'm recovering from it. When I take my vitamins, I hold my intention over them. May this vitamin D give me the best benefit, the best, um, uh, you might say, immune balance for this biology. So I teach my patients how to do that. And I'll tell you, every single time they went, I never thought of that. This is awesome. So if I can leave one thing, hold an intention over your supplements, hold an intention over your medicines, pump up your intention because your consciousness is affecting everything. The intention, even to show up today to be with Joanna, it's in operation. You never, so she's not somewhere out there and I'm going to now do it. No, you're intending all the time. Now you're becoming more conscious. Now you're directing it. Now you're in your power. Okay? So you're not being blind here and using all these bits of knowledge. You're really a conscious being and you're intending all the time. And in healing, I would say one thing: use your intention to pump up your medicine and its benefit. If you're really worried about something, I have patients who are, Dr. Manek, I really don't want the steroids. I'm really concerned. I'd say, I hear your concern. Let's hold the intention that this medicine will have beneficial effects and we use it as little as possible. All right. And I can tell you many times they're just surprised. I want to share something with you where this is really by a very high spiritual leader. We respect him, and that's His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. He came to the Mayo Clinic, and I was with him in that 2008, and he says, "I respect science." He has, whatever high blood pressure, say. And he says, I respect science. We don't want to leave science out of spirituality. And he's a very highly, you know, adept. He is a rishi. He is a yogi. The Dalai Lama is a very high consciousness. And he said to the group of doctors gathered in the audience, he says, when I look at my blood pressure medicine, I know this has been a discovery of science. Then a company made it. Then my doctor prescribes it. But ultimately, I am in charge. So he put out his hand like this. And I thought, this is the most brilliant thing you can do. I, Dalai Lama, am in charge. Never forget that. Never forget that. So your water, your coffee, your food, whatever you're taking, you're only subject to what you hold in mind, and you are in power. Okay? Never fear anything. So hold your intention over your medicines. Give it 30 or a minute. Don't be in a hurry. Why in a hurry? Why is everybody in a hurry right now?
Mm,
We must have it. It's instant gratification. Woo! No, hold a little
mm,
time. And if you're not sure, just close your eyes, breathe, go into your heart for a few moments, hold your medicine, then take it. And you'll feel a sense of completion. You go, yeah, that feels good. That feels
mm,
good. Just like my EFT feels good. And then
mhm.
boom, you're in unity of
Yes.
consciousness. Yeah.
So, so intention, you're talking about intention.
Mhm.
Is that the same as awareness?
So awareness, I think there's an overlap, Joanne. Awareness, right? So I am aware of this question and then I answer it. So I think there is a overlap of the word awareness. You are awake, okay, and intention. For me, intention is very direct. It's an aim. It's like pointing an arrow to a target. So awareness can be more general. So that's my only difference, that intention, when you look at the dictionary definition, You're really a target, an aim, a purpose, one thing that you're going to do. And here we're going to say, my vitamin D is going to have absolute benefit to my immune system, which, by the way,
Mm.
it does. Vitamin D is the best thing you can do for your immune
Mm.
system if you want to know my immunology perspective. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the time always runs away from us, and we're
Oh.
approaching the end, but it's not quite there yet. We're not there yet. So, what would you like to mention? Something that we haven't spoken about, or something you want to emphasize, or
Mhm.
something before we talk about your freebie, your giveaway. You have a generous gift
Mhm.
for the listeners. So, what do you want to make sure that people leave understanding and maybe starting to do for
Mhm.
themselves?
Well, there's so many beautiful things we have discussed here today, Joanna. I would just say intention is your power. In nature, it is the biggest power that you have unleashed. There cannot be anything bigger, honestly. Once you are really confident, um, and I would say, meditate and write your intentions, now you're really stepping into a very enormous power. And it's yours every day, every moment. So use your intention. It's the greatest power that is yours and uniquely yours. It doesn't belong to somebody else, it's yours. You. It's
Thank you.
wonderful. Once you discover that, you go, the game of life becomes more playful.
Mm, I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. And that I really enjoy that about you, Dr. Manek, that you are so playful. You help people with difficult issues,
Mhm.
but the attitude and again, the intention, the awareness that something bigger is possible, the awareness that you understand that someone tells you this or brings it to your attention, and that you allow yourself to believe that this is
God is
possible.
your partner in everything.
Yes.
There's another thing we can just say. So if you
Mm,
feel in any way unsure, uneasy, the world is going through enormous shifts, Joanna.
yeah,
It is. We look at it,
absolutely. Absolutely.
God is with you. It is
Mm,
you. We've already said it's an enormous field, and you're
mm,
playing in that field like a giant electromagnetic field, and you're like little
mm,
iron filing. Ooh, I'm attracted to this. And the attraction is there because it's your very nature.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because people come to me and they don't believe it. So again, back to the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is a problem. Yes, I'm struggling with this. Yes, I don't allow myself this. Yes, I don't let myself believe that what Dr. Manek is saying and Dr. Tiller has discovered is possible. So the awareness is actually very, very powerful. So thank you so much for sharing this with you and doing the work you do, and and you are sharing a gift with the listeners. So tell us about the gift that you're sharing. Actually, you are giving away two gifts.
Well, you describe EFT and that feeling of great unity. Well, I went to Minneapolis to see the relics of Buddha. The relics of Buddha means his remains still survive today, 2,700 years on. They're not disappeared. I go into this monastery. I hadn't even set eyes on the relics. And they're little objects like little beads. And I went out. Out meaning I was a sense of unity, of great profound love. It
Mm,
was so magnificent. I mean, I couldn't stand up. I
mm,
had to just sit down. And the monks were watching me. I wrote about that because just like the patient told me, there's more to this. And the relics of Buddha came to our home in Los Angeles. So I wrote as a first-hand observer what's possible. And this comes back to the question of consciousness. So I wrote a scientific paper on that, and that's the first gift. What is consciousness? And it doesn't have to be in this physical two eyes and ear and all that, because Buddha's consciousness is surviving today in those relics. Whoa, in an object. So that's the first paper, and then just need to sign into my email list. That would be great. The second giveaway is free, is the immune shield. If there's one question that's gripped humanity, is this whole question of immunity, right? And we're doing all kinds of things for immune health. And I'll tell you, folks, it doesn't have to be too difficult. And the immune shield is something that I have personally looked at the science of vitamin D, of zinc, and various other components, including essential oils, that if you do regularly and you can do it right away, you're going to position your health forever in a very, very strong way. So that's two gifts: immune shield and the science paper of the relics of Buddha, which is so amazing. If I can say, go get that paper, it might elevate you.
Lovely. And thank you for sharing all this with us.
You're welcome, Joanne.
So I love how you're spreading this with the world. And if the viewers can spread this, that would be wonderful as well. I will post those links so that everyone can get them easily. And if they have any questions, I assume they can contact you.
Mhm.
If anyone wants to learn EFT and how to simply get out of stuck feelings and unwanted emotions that are hindering them from believing what you're sharing and believing in this conscious creation, then they can reach out to me. And yes.
Joanne, I'm going to say, if people have difficulty in EFT and they're believing, EFT is spiritual first aid.
Mm,
You know,
thank
we have
you.
all these things. Oh, you need an aspirin or Tylenol, call me in the morning. Give them the tapping. It is very powerful. It is.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Tiller also has, he was an advisor to one of the EFT founders, because
Aha.
once you tap, it's a pressure, it
Mm-hmm.
moves energy. And then we're talking energy here. So move subtle energies, and they will work. They will remove those obstacles to love, which
Mm.
we're talking about. So spiritual first aid, easy. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that description because that's how I see it. That's how I
Yes.
see it. So thank you for putting words to that. Again, thank you, and I hope this isn't the last time. I hope we can, spread your discoveries and share your next projects, because I want to share with everyone that you have something happening and coming. So
Yes.
we will be sharing that when you are releasing it. So stay tuned, join us, share our work, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanne.
We have some appreciation in our chat here. So until the next time, I hope to see
Joanne,
you
thank you
soon.
so much.
Thank
Good
you.
night in Stockholm.
Thank you.
Mm.